Hi everybody, my name is Max Maker and I've got very exciting news for you. I'm building a huge workshop this year and this is the property where I'm going to build it on. So in this video I'm going to show you all the planning that went into this workshop so far and what is planned for the entire year, because this will be a lot of work. This is my current workshop. I moved in here in 2018 and since then I've outgrown it. Back then it was the dream workshop and it really was a nice space and still is. But business has picked up a lot since then, so I can afford a bigger workshop and that's what I want to do. This is my main work area and it's really just this. It's 2 car parking spaces. I've got all the tools over there, lots of drawers for tools, power tools, miter saw, all the battery chargers, and the rest is just storage. So we've got one big pallet rack over there. Here's a packaging area in the middle and another pallet rack. And I could really use more space because I have a lot of cardboard for products, and the cardboard you have to buy it in bulk. So that takes up a lot of space. And with the new workshop, I can put all of this on really tall racking that's like 6 meters high. And I can work more efficiently and more comfortably because this doesn't have daylight, this doesn't have heating. So in the winter, it's just about 10 degrees. In the summer, it's nice. It's about 18 at the max. So even if it's really hot outside, it's cool in here. But yeah, I'm investing into the future. So that's why I'm building a new workshop. But first I had to find a property. This is my hometown in north of Germany and I live just about here. And 4 years ago I applied to my city and to the neighboring counties to buy a property in a new development. And this year I finally got an offer to buy a property here or in the other industrial estate. Distance-wise they're pretty much the same from my home, but industrial estate 2 there's never any traffic in that direction, so the commute would only be 10 minutes versus the other way it's about 30 minutes. And there's another big downside. In the industrial estate 1 there's a landfill right next to it and sometimes in summer it really smells. And the other one is a little bit cheaper, so that's what I'm going with. They gave me a map with all the properties to choose from and I picked this one right next to the entrance of the industrial estate. I think it has a nice aspect ratio and the property is about 2,200 square meters big or 24,000 square feet. But I have to keep a distance to the borders with the building of about 5 meters. So I can use that space, but just not for the building itself. So over there is the main road and this is my property. So it starts here on the hill and it goes downhill. Property line is about here where my finger is and it goes all the way to about there, and this is one of the entryways and there's the second entryway. This one is shared, so there the pavement is a bit lower, so this one is shared with the neighboring property. So next I had to figure out what kind of structure would fit on that property, and this was my first draft. I thought I'd do the roof like this so it's optimized for solar panels, and I want this workshop to be as universally usable as possible because I do some manufacturing for my products but also some YouTube work and some general tinkering about. So I want an open space, I want some storage, so that's why I need a high wall for a pallet rack, and I need a big gate at the front. And this gate has to fit underneath this roof. I definitely want a little roof so I can do some work outside without getting rained on. And I got some quotes from the manufacturers of these steel buildings and it was quite high for this one. And I thought, maybe I can optimize it. Also, this low angle for the solar panels is not ideal because the rain doesn't clean it properly. So this is the second design, which has a much smaller footprint, but it has just as much usable space because I put the open office here at the top and the changing rooms as well. That way we get a steeper roof that is nice for the solar panels, you get more yield and they also clean themselves, and the empty space here at the top is still utilized. But there's a big problem with this design. You cannot build it this way because it's not fireproof. If you work in the first floor needs to be fireproof. That means no gas from here can come into this space. So you need fireproof doors, fireproof windows. All of the cables and all of the piping that goes into these toilets needs to be fireproofed as well, which is very expensive. And the steel structure underneath needs to be fireproof as well. And steel beams are not fireproof. You need to clad them with a special fireproof material, which is insanely expensive and also heavy. It's not nice to work with this stuff. It's just the savings that I would get from this for making a smaller footprint workshop are not worth it to put any office here at the top. So this is the final design of the workshop and it took me about half a year to come up with this design, but I think it's ideal. Here at the front you entered into the parking lot. We have car parking spaces here, over here and 2 over here for EV charging. So this EV charger will use the electricity from the solar panels, which is really nice. And this steel building is much bigger than I initially planned, because I found out making it much bigger doesn't cost much more money. Like if I made it 50% smaller, I wouldn't save 50% of the money, I would only save maybe 20%. So it makes sense to utilize as much ground space as possible and put everything on the floor. But I also found out making these walls 6 meters high isn't very expensive either. So normally they would have to be at least 3 meters, and making them 6 meters high is maybe just 10% more. And that way we can have a storage area over here, because for a storage area you don't have these strict fire requirements, because nobody is working up here, they're just storing things there. So underneath this we have the office complex. So let me take this off and you can have a look inside. So we have my little desk here, you can look outside to the street, we can put some more desks here. Then we have a lounge area followed by the kitchen, and we have a lot of windows to look into the work area. Then we have 2 toilets for male and female, same with the showers here, male and female. And a funny side note, in Germany if you have a toilet in a workspace you need 2 doors between the toilet and the workspace, so people that work here cannot smell the toilet. I don't think it makes sense for such a huge place, but that's just regulations and I have to follow them. These 2 rooms are empty at the moment, and we could put some utilities in there, but I'm not sure yet. Here in these other 2 walls we will put all kinds of racking so we can store all the stuff in the height. That would be really nice, so we have all this floor space to play with. We can put a workshop here, put some production lines here, and here we left a little pocket, and in that pocket goes a hydraulic lift that I already have. The entire building will be really well insulated. It's a high efficiency building. The walls are made from 120 millimeters thick foam, and also all of the concrete will be completely enclosed in foam, so we don't lose any heat to the outside. And on the inside we will have floor heating and a heat pump to heat the whole thing. But first we need the building permit, and the amount of paperwork is really extreme. These 3 folders cost me about 25 grand in total. Every single page is stamped, every calculation gets double checked. That's the way it is in Germany. I'm an engineer, but that doesn't count. You still need an architect to handle all the paperwork. Then you need a fire safety concept, which is 5 grand, which I think is fair, but we almost have no regulations because it's such a small building. So it's really over the top, the amount of paperwork just for that. Then the engineering, 5 grand, the engineering review, which is exactly the same thing, just again by a second person. Then you need a noise pollution concept, which I think is really unnecessary because it is an industrial estate after all. Then you need an energy saving certificate, which we easily passed with all the insulation we have. But the good thing is it also contains the calculations for the size of the heater. And the last thing before you can start building is a ground survey, which obviously makes a lot of sense. The ground consists of almost 100% sand, which is very nice to work with. It took me about half a year to hand all of this paperwork in and to finally get the permit, so now we can start building. And the first step I had to do was to check the ground height, because I need to know how much earth we need to remove. So I set up the laser exactly 1 meter above the pavement, and now I can see how high the high side is once the sun goes down. I'm pretty sure this is the edge of the property, because it's just about between this thing and these 2, because I can see them on the map. This is the property line, and this is the property line. And with that knowledge I could stake out where the building would be later, and then start some measurements at different points to see how high the level was. Because the building has to be about 20 centimeters above the pavement, and if the ground level is too high we have to remove all of that ground, and that is very expensive. So the pavement is my 0 elevation, and with all these measurement points I could see that only at the top left corner we have 1 high spot, and the rest pretty much averages out to about 0. So this is really good, so we don't have to add or subtract any soil. We just need to remove this high spot here in the corner. So next up we start digging for the foundations. After that a contractor will come in and lay down the insulation, install the pipes and pour the concrete. And then in July a different company will install the steel structure, the walls and the windows. And as soon as the building is up, my crew and I can build the wooden structure on the inside. And I'm super excited about this part, because this is a kind of work that doesn't come across my desk very often. So we will have a ton of videos this year, a lot of exciting content, and if you have any questions about any of these aspects, just write them in the comments and I'll try to make a video with all your questions and answers. So if you want to see how an industrial workshop is built, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the future videos. Thanks for watching everybody, and see you next time.